In a world where global alliances shape the very foundation of power, a quiet storm is building in West Africa, one that no one in Washington, London, or Paris saw coming. Burkina Faso, a country once considered dependent and fragile, has done the unthinkable. Its revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, has just realigned the country's destiny, not with Western powers, but with two of the world's biggest superpowers, Russia and China. This isn't just diplomacy. This is a seismic geopolitical realignment, and the United States has been left completely blindsided. But how did this bold partnership come to life? Why did Burkina Faso turn its back on the West? And what are the global consequences of this shocking alliance? Stay tuned, because what's unfolding isn't just Burkina Faso's story. It's the story of Africa rising, of empires falling, and of a new world order being forged. Let's rewind. Just 2 years ago, Burkina Faso was caught in a spiral of poverty, insurgency, and political instability. Foreign forces occupied its soil under the guise of support, and the country's vast resources, especially gold, were flowing out faster than they were enriching the people. Enter Captain Ibrahim Traore, a young, fearless military officer who didn't speak in rehearsed sound bites, but in the raw language of liberation. At just 34, Traoré staged a bloodless coup and declared that the era of Western manipulation was over. For the first time in decades, Burkina Faso had a leader who wasn't begging for IMF bailouts or World Bank packages. Instead, he looked inward to the people and eastward to new global partners. And that's where the story takes a radical turn. For decades, the US, France, and their allies treated Africa as a backyard, exploiting resources, installing puppet regimes, and offering just enough aid to keep control. Burkina Faso was no exception. The West poured military trainers, contractors, and loans into the region, not out of goodwill, but to maintain access to gold, lithium, uranium, and geopolitical influence. But Traoré saw through the facade. Instead of continuing this one-sided dance, he took a sharp turn, shutting down French military bases, canceling exploitative mining contracts, and announcing that Burkina Faso would chart its own destiny. This sent shockwaves through the Pentagon and the Élysée Palace. But it was only the beginning. With Western bridges burning, Traoré didn't retreat, he expanded. He flew to Moscow under the radar. He hosted Chinese envoys. He opened up a new chapter of African diplomacy, one based not on charity, but on mutual benefit. Russia provided advanced military equipment, training, and intelligence support. Chinese companies entered with offers of infrastructure development, not loans but actual roads, bridges, factories, and power plants. Together, they offered something the West never did: respect for sovereignty and a seat at the table. The U.S. State Department was rattled. Analysts scrambled. Why would a small country like Burkina Faso choose such giants as allies? The answer? Because Traoré wasn't playing defense. He was playing offense for his people, his continent, and his future. But this isn't just about Burkina Faso. The ripple effects have already begun. Niger, Mali, Guinea, and even Ghana have started asking deeper questions. If Burkina Faso can rise without Western aid, why can't they? The African public, especially the youth, are rallying behind leaders like Traoré who dare to challenge the old order. Social media is exploding with support. The African street is alive with slogans of sovereignty, unity, and Pan-African power. This is more than politics, it's a movement. And what makes it even more powerful is that it's not about hate. It's about hope. Hope that Africa can rise on its own terms. In Washington, D.C., classified reports describe Traoré as a rising threat to U.S. influence in West Africa. Economic advisors have warned that if the Russia-China alliance with Burkina Faso spreads, it could signal the collapse of Western economic dominance in the region. Make no mistake, this is not just a regional shift. It's a domino. The CIA is reportedly monitoring developments closely. Diplomatic backchannels have gone hot. And just weeks ago, a secret meeting was held in Brussels to reassess NATO's African strategy. But the truth is, it may already be too late. Traoré's popularity is skyrocketing. His country is stabilizing. and his influence is growing beyond borders. In a recent national broadcast, Traoré said something powerful. "We are not anti-West. We are pro-Africa. And that's the core of this revolution. It's not about replacing one master with another. It's about finally standing tall without masters." Burkina Faso is already piloting homegrown schools, military factories, gold refineries, and technology centers, with Russian and Chinese technical assistance but full
Welcome to African Spotlight 24, your premier source for news and current affairs from across the continent. We're glad you're here. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe, like, and turn on notification to stay up to date with the latest news and analysis. Your support helps us reach more people. Disclaimer: the content of this video is based on credible, publicly available information and is intended for educational, analytical, and informational purposes only. African Spotlight 24 does not promote hate, violence, misinformation, or political unrest. Our goal is to deliver thoughtful insights, highlight local voices, and encourage informed conversations throughout Africa.
African leadership. Meanwhile, French and U.S. media remain mostly silent. Why? Because admitting that a young African leader just broke the mold is too dangerous to the existing narrative. But the people are not waiting for permission. They are moving forward with or without applause. What Traoré has managed to do is unprecedented, not just in the context of Burkina Faso, but across post-colonial Africa. He is repositioning Burkina Faso from a peripheral player to a central force in the emerging multipolar world. His alignment with Russia and China is not a blind ideological leap, but a calculated geopolitical strategy rooted in historical betrayal and pragmatic nationalism. To understand why this alliance matters, we must look at history. For decades, African nations were forced to choose between aligning with Western powers who often imposed sanctions, dictated economic policies, or demanded allegiance through diplomatic strings. Or they could remain isolated, vulnerable to coups, destabilization, and economic strangulation. But Traoré's Burkina Faso is now illustrating a third way: sovereign cooperation built on mutual respect, infrastructure exchange, military support, and technological empowerment. Russia's military and intelligence alliance with Burkina Faso has already resulted in rapid transformation on the security front. In under a year, Burkinabe forces, once outgunned and outmanned by insurgent groups, have begun retaking key territories with drone surveillance, armored ground tactics, and intelligence sharing that rivals NATO operations in efficiency. Russian specialists didn't just bring arms, they brought strategy, logistics, and a complete reorientation of military philosophy. Meanwhile, China has stepped in on the economic front. With the West pulling out investment, China offered no-strings-attached development funds, paving roads, setting up agricultural tech training centers, and more critically, offering high-speed fiber infrastructure to empower digital education in rural regions. This isn't charity, it's smart diplomacy. China is betting on an Africa that becomes a hub of global productivity, not a client of foreign powers. And where does the U.S. stand in all this? Watching, reacting, scrambling. Washington has been stunned, not just by the speed of Burkina Faso's shift, but by the audacity. Reports from Capitol Hill now label Traoré a dangerous nationalist, while think tanks scramble to analyze how Burkina Faso, a country many in the West couldn't find on a map 5 years ago, has become a symbol of African resistance. Inside Africa, the reaction has been even more powerful. From Ghana to Guinea, from Mali to Chad, citizens are watching videos of Ibrahim Traoré's speeches. Young people are quoting his statements on sovereignty, and political groups are modeling their economic policies around his developmental priorities. The message is clear. If Burkina Faso can do it, so can we. What followed Traoré's public alliance with Russia and China wasn't just a ripple. It was a diplomatic earthquake. The United States, long used to being the puppet master behind Africa's geopolitical strings, was blindsided. Washington insiders began holding emergency meetings, and Western think tanks scrambled to decode what had just happened. Africa is done asking permission. Burkina Faso was now the face of that revolution.